Hi, we're Sociolinguistic Sharknado.
Hi, I'm Hollis.
I'm Inju.
I'm Rosalind.
And I'm Rose.
We decided to see if the language used to talk about immigration varies based on age groups.
To figure this out, we performed an ethnography where we split participants into 4 groups.
Each group had 5 participants. G1 represented ages 18 through 25, G2 ages 26 through 30, G3 ages 31 through 60, and G4 being ages 60 plus.
To gather data, we conducted face-to-face interviews where we asked 5 questions along with a few background questions.
These questions were, what are the benefits and drawbacks of immigration? What are your thoughts on the various arguments surrounding immigration?
How do you feel about country borders?
What do you think about establishing a national language for the US?
And lastly, what do you think about the increasing amount of immersion schools that are staffed by immigrants?
We also collected data in online spaces, searching Reddit, YouTube, Facebook, and Tumblr for comments related to our questions.
The idea was to see if the language used online mirrored the language we observed in face-to-face interviews.
Unfortunately, it was difficult to tell commentators' ages on these websites.
While we noticed many trends within the language used by participants, none of them held true to our original hypothesis.
Check this out. When talking about immersion schools, each of these participants mentions language and culture. These are Caitlin and Max. They are both part of the G2 age range.
They obviously know language and culture.
Immigrants means they know the language and culture.
This wasn't limited to G2, however. Florence is in the G3 range, and Ross is in the G4 range. It brings the language and culture to the kids.
New culture and language.
Although their opinions varied, regardless of age, the participants talked about immigrant language teachers' connection to language and culture, and they valued it.
Another trend throughout the groups was the idea of immigrants moving to find a better life. Queen and Grain are both G1.
People are just trying to have a better life. They can get a better situation.
Allows people to get out of a bad situation and potentially make a better life for themselves in America.
Hua is G2.
I see everything here is better. My life is better.
We even found similar wordings in a Reddit post.
We do need people who will want to come here and make a better life for them and theirs.
Across age groups, the participants talked about how immigration makes a better life for immigrants. This shows even more similarities between age sets.
We also found that discussion on legal versus illegal immigrants was present throughout almost every age group as well as online. This is Bradley, Hogarth, and Gwen. They all belong to the G1 age group.
It's unfair illegal immigrants often get treated the same as legal immigrants.
People should be able to come over, legally.
But yeah, I still don't support illegal immigration.
Bob and Constantine are G2 and G3 respectively.
Illegal immigrants are bad, but sometimes they are blamed too much.
Yeah, I'm totally for legal immigration, but not illegal. I have no problem with Mexicans coming into America, as long as they do it legally, as long as they're here legally.
The debate got even more heated in online spaces. This is the language we observed on Reddit.
Immigrants should not be allowed to just waltz in illegally and get benefits.
I don't understand the immediate labeling of anyone who says they don't want illegals in their country as a racist.
Some Facebook posts use capitalization and punctuation to make their language even stronger.
You care so much about illegal immigrants. How about summer for legal citizens? Nothing wrong with legal immigration.
Similar discussions and phrases can also be found in the YouTube comments section.
I'm glad we finally have a president that takes action when it comes to legal immigration.
Instead, there are programs that give handouts and leg ups for immigrants so they can move forward, and they're doing it illegally. That is the problem here.
All in all, we saw a running theme in the comments comparing legal and illegal immigration. They would often say illegal immigration is bad, or there is nothing wrong with immigration as long as it's legal.
The similarities just keep rolling in. One similar structure I found in common is shown here in comments from Dock Worker, a G4, and Max, a G2.
It's fear-mongering. The people against it are pushing fear. They are taking our jobs is fear-mongering. They're stealing our jobs is bullshit. It's fear-mongering. The presence of the phrase fear-mongering piqued my interest. Another trend that relates to the quotes seen in further comments regards to jobs and works. Gladwin is a G4 and Hogarth is a G1. I don't think immigrants should get welfare, they should work. If people come in without the proper steps and don't get jobs, it's a drain on society.
Miss O and Florence are both G3, and they say,
Good for immigrants to get jobs.
If you're too lazy to do the paperwork, you're too lazy to do work in our country.
Participants are using similar word structures to express dislike over groups they perceive as bad or wrong. Just as seen in other samples, these structures have transcended throughout the age groups.
The original hypothesis for our ethnography was that there's going to be differences in language use in different age groups when talking about immigrants. After discussing what we found on social network sites and considering that the posters are anonymous and that people hide their age, we saw similarities in our findings that the posters talk about political issues about immigrants and if there are on the side of Republicans or Democrats. Also, they express their thoughts without filtering and just type whatever they want to people they don't know using even curse word. Within each site, these posts had similar structures and fears as well as holding linguistic similarities to our in-person interview. In addition, our in-person ethnography interview data doesn't show any age difference in talking about immigration.
The linguistic features we have shown in examples are strong indicators of this. Phrases that crop up throughout age groups must hold some connection to one another, even if that connection falls outside of the realm of a subject's age. A trend we noticed to support social identity as a factor in this was the way participants from immigrant backgrounds discussed the benefits and drawbacks of immigration versus the way non-immigrants discussed the same topic. We observed that those from immigrant backgrounds would focus on the benefits for the immigrants themselves, while those not from that background would discuss how it affects the society as a whole. In their responses, similar phrases are used to address these two distinct sides of the same issue. Gathering more information on a subject's background might help shed more light into the trends we observed, but since we did not focus on that aspect within our ethnographic method, we unfortunately can only hypothesize on the causes of these trends, but we strongly suspect that it is tied into other factors outside of one's age.
In general, we found that the way people talk about immigration has more to do with how one socially identifies. This is a particularly poignant point, as the United States is currently experiencing a divisive political time in its history, where many groups isolate themselves from other ideological groups through their language. By looking at the way this language radicalizes groups, it becomes possible for these sects to become self-aware and more capable of real communication. This is not to demonize political affiliation, but to draw attention to the social processes reflected in language use that reveal potentially harmful social division, that which is not conducive to productive conversation. Our study was not able to lead to a better understanding of immigration in the United States through the lens of age sets, since all groups shared linguistic features, but it did eliminate it as a major contributor.
Even though our original hypothesis didn't hold true, we believe that this could be a valuable research project going forward if a few changes were made. Since our original data groups were small, future research projects should include a larger sample size for each age group in order to find a more cohesive conclusion. We could also find more scholarly sources to tap into the rhetoric surrounding our research topic, such as if there's any existing research documenting research changes in age gap thinking. Another vein of research we could follow in the future in relation to our conclusion could be how language and ideology relate on the topic of immigration, since that is the conclusion we came to in this research study. This would be an interesting study to conduct, as we've already documented and concluded in our current research that there is a difference in how people in different ideological groups discuss controversial topics like immigration. Despite our hypothesis being disproven, we hope you find the ethnographic data that we've presented to be as interesting and compelling as we ourselves have found it to be through the course of this project. Thank you for your time, and never stop being curious.